few weeks ago, me and a friend planned to go to an event together. Since we only had free time after work, we decided to get an Uber so it wouldn't take long to arrive. I could enjoy more. The first half of the ride was really normal. Seemed like a normal, polite dude. But as soon as we got to the highway, his attitude changed. He seemed a lot more irritated. Me and my friend didn't pay much attention though, and kept chatting between us. Our attention was drawn when he started shouting with another driver. He turned to us and said he was going to pull over. I tried objecting, but he ignored and pulled over anyway. He reached out for the glove department and pulled out a gun. Important to note that guns are illegal in my country. We were just watching this unfold with holded breaths, and when the other guy drove away, we let out a sigh of relief. But then, we were still stuck in a car with a crazy man with a gun. After that, he went back to driving and apologized to us, saying that the guy was tailgating him. I let out an, "Oh, got it." He kept talking. "That guy is lucky you two girls are here, or else I would have followed him and shot him in the face. Sleazy idiot." I look over to my friend. She's in shock and paralyzed. I'm in shock too, but trying to keep my cool because the last thing I want to do is get him annoyed at us. If he was willing to shoot that guy for tailgating, I don't want to know what he would do to us if I said the wrong thing. "No, it's okay, I understand," I say, trying to appease him. "These guys need to be taught a lesson," he continued while I was just agreeing with my head. "I did that before, you know. You just trap the guy in an empty street, and when he leaves the car, bang." Did he just admit to murder? Was the only thing that ran through my head. But I managed to keep calm and just agree with him the rest of the way. He did deliver us to the right place with no more incidents. I waited a few weeks to report since he had my home address and it wouldn't be too hard to figure out who reported him. Nobody showed up in my home with a gun, at least until now. An Uber has answered my report saying that they started an investigation. Hope this guy doesn't do this to anyone else. Depending on where you live, it might not be too rare of an occurrence to hear a stranger's voice outside your window. I used to live in North Philadelphia, so I'm very used to hearing drunken shenanigans outside of my apartment building at all hours of the day and night. However, I would consider where I live now to be more of a blue-collar rural kind of setting. Living in this area, you have to have a car to get anywhere. Occasionally, you'll see someone walking or jogging along the street, but there are no sidewalks, and it's a busy street. There are no restaurants or bars within a reasonable walking distance, especially at that time of the night. Usually I would have been asleep in my bed, but that night my boyfriend and I fell asleep on the couch watching a movie. I woke up disoriented and drenched in my own sweat around 3 a.m. and started to clean up to get ready for bed. I let my boyfriend remain sleeping as I was putting away dirty cups in the sink and picking up some dog toys. I was just about to wake him up when I heard a man's voice coming from outside of my house. I couldn't make out exactly what he was saying, but it sounded agitated and raised his voice a few times. I think I heard him say something along the lines of rat killer or possibly brat killer, but my horror movie loving brain might have twisted it into Brad killed her. I shook my boyfriend to wake him up because the man sounded like he was directly outside of our house. If he were walking on the road, he wouldn't have sounded so close. By the time my sleepy boyfriend woke up, the yelling man stopped making noise. We have Ring cameras set up at each entrance of the house, but they captured nothing at the time. I would have peeked through the blinds or the windows on the front door, but I was certain that any movement or light would have been immediately noticeable from the outside. We've lived there for almost a year and have never had any issues like this. Even though I never felt like I was in any immediate danger, it still creeped me out. My boyfriend travels for work occasionally, and if this had happened while he was away, I would have been terrified. Like I said before, if I was living in an area where this was a normal thing, it wouldn't bother me, but this was very uncharacteristic for this area. In my late teens and early 20s, I was friends with a girl named Lucy. She was a very lonely kind of girl whose parents were, well honestly, really bad parents. Her mother was verbally abusive, and her father really couldn't care less about anything. Because of the lack of love in her life, Lucy searched through dating sites for love and comfort from strange men, and she was not afraid of meeting them face to face, even if they'd been chatting for only a few days. My friendship with Lucy was a strange one. I found her quite annoying sometimes, but I also felt awful for her because of her loneliness and lack of friends and love in her life. Sometimes I really didn't want to hang out with her, and some days I would accept her offer to hang out. When it was just her and I together, she was normal and okay to be around, but also very appreciative of having someone giving her attention. We had a small group of friends and she would try to get all of us together as often as possible, and honestly, the whole group together was really quite fun. When we were all together, Lucy was very hyper and you can tell that she was happy to be around people who did not insult her as her mother does. Suddenly, Lucy tells us she has a boyfriend. We were all surprised because we knew she met a lot of guys online, but we had never heard her say she was dating someone. A few days later, she sets up a day for our friend group to meet Trevor. None of us were looking forward to it because we thought he was going to be like all the others, a temporary boy toy. When we met him, we all felt awkward. He barely spoke a word. He wouldn't look directly at any of us at all. Lucy would try to be funny, but he would just give her dirty looks. Needless to say, we thought he was a weird one. I could tell he didn't care much for her. As days went on, Lucy kept telling me how much Trevor did not like me, which was weird because no one ever disliked me. I was always polite, respectful, I smile a lot at everyone, but for some reason he did not like me. She kept saying he thinks I'm using Lucy for her money. Not sure how he thought that since I paid for everything for Lucy. To keep this piece of the story short, I think he was trying to find reasons to convince her to get rid of me. I got a terrible vibe from Trevor. He dressed like he didn't care about life, he never smiled, he didn't shake our hands when first meeting us, he stank of weed and really had an overall uncomfortable feeling about him. After months of Trevor trying to convince Lucy that I'm a terrible friend, and she should not hang out with me anymore, she started to do as he said. He would hide me from him. If she and I were together and he would call her on the phone, she would lie and say I wasn't there. If she was with a group of friends, he would have her swear that I wasn't there. And when he was going to be joining the group for an outing or just hanging out at her place, she would tell me that I couldn't come. Lucy will do whatever a boyfriend says just to keep pleasing him so she doesn't lose them. Now here's where it gets scary. Lucy calls me one day and says she wants me to come hang out at her place. I agreed. She came to pick me up. We went to her house and watched TV for a bit. We then decided since it's a nice day outside, we would take her 2 dogs out for a walk to a nearby pocket park, and would later return to the house to have lunch together. While at this park, she receives a phone call. Now let me say that Lucy's not a private person whatsoever, and has never ever walked away to answer a phone call until this day. She walked far away enough that she knew I would not be able to hear the call. This was suspicious to me, but not enough to question it. The call ends and she begins walking towards me with a look on her face as if she's trying not to smile. So she tells me, I need to bring you home now. I was slightly confused as we had only been together for an hour, and she would never want me to go home. She would even frequently beg me to sleep over just to avoid being alone. So anyway, I said okay, and we walked to drop off her dogs at home, and we got into her car and off we went. About 10 minutes into the car ride, I realized she isn't going the direction of my house, so I questioned it. Where are we going? She smirked but didn't respond. I asked again, laughing uncomfortably. Seriously, where are we going? She continued to smirk but didn't want to answer me. I started to realize that she was heading in the direction of where her boyfriend lived. Oh no. I asked her one last time with anger in my voice, Where are you taking me? Her only response was bone-chilling to me. Trevor wants to talk to you. No, I wasn't having any of this. I insisted and demanded she would let me out of the car, but with her evil smirk and same response, she said, It's okay, he just wants to talk to you. I was furious at this point because this creepy guy who looks like he wants to kill someone, who also despised me, wanted to talk to me. Why can't he talk to me on the phone? Why do I need to go to his sketchy apartment? She absolutely refused to let me out of the car. She had the doors locked, as if I was unable to unlock my passenger door. I waited until she reached a red light. I grabbed her wallet from the backseat and took out her bus pass and bolted out of the car. I had no idea where I was or where the nearest bus stop was. but I was not about to let her crazy boyfriend do whatever he wanted to me. She yelled at me to get back in the car, but of course I ignored her. She sped off furiously. I immediately blocked her number on my phone. I removed her as my friend on social medias and immediately warned my group of friends not to talk to her because she had gone nuts. I have not spoken to her since that very day, and she also lost to 5 other friends of that group as well.